Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are Jack Gunsky.
Hello.
And DrFunctional.
Hi.
Hi.
When did this happen?
And we're actually expecting at least 2 more people. So they're just late. Why are they late? I don't know. So we have, let's see, nothing to see here. Hello? We have 1 person in chat right now. That's awesome. Yeah, it feels like it's been several weeks since we were on the air last week. I don't know why it feels like this week is so incredibly long. I think it's just because that holiday was in the middle. Did you do any 4th of July related tomfoolery, Jack?
Yes, I performed a concert band in a concert band on the 2nd, which was pretty nice. And then on the 4th, I went to a fireworks display.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's good. What about you, Functional? Did you like eat some bald eagle or something to? You know, I know you're Canadian, but that doesn't mean you can't celebrate the 4th.
No.
Drink some shitty American beer.
No, I don't really celebrate anything.
Pretend to be a redneck. No.
I'm a joyless human being.
You celebrated Canada Day, though.
Oh,
No, you didn't. Like hell, I did. Hi, cannibalistic wizard.
No, I'm not a.
You're not a joiner.
Celebrations kind of guy. I'm a live for the moment kind of guy, and when the moment's right and it's time to party, fuck yeah, let's party. But I mean, just to be told, oh, this is the anniversary of the creation of your country, when a whole bunch of old dudes wrote down some things on some paper, and then it's a very different country 100 and some odd years ago. I doesn't really bother. Like, even my birthday, I don't really celebrate. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a really good day, I celebrate. If I achieve something, I celebrate. Holidays never really been my jam. But I'm glad people are having fun on 4th, because it's much needed with how things are going in the world. And you know, there was some big turnouts for Canada Day in a lot of areas that were just like, you know, gave me a little in the cockles of my heart to make me, you know, go, you know, this is a good moment. People are having fun. It's good. Proud to be American, Canadian, whatever is not a bad thing. It's not a 4-letter. It's not a 4-letter word. It's not evil pride. It's good pride.
Yeah.
It's you and your fellow man of the same nation.
Well, given how many people are just sort of anti wherever they live, you know, out-group preferers, who think patriotism or nationalism is just a terrible, terrible thing. It just feels like the holiday is getting way less fun all the time. I think in San Jose it was $1,500 per illegal firework if they caught you.
Jeez.
Can you think about what that total would be? That's just crazy. And this is what they had in another town in Silicon Valley. So Sunnyvale had this drone show, and instead of like proper fireworks.
That's cool.
Okay, it's kind of cool, but I don't really think that drones with colored lights are as cool as fireworks. Real pyrotechnics to me seem a lot better. Now, I will say that Tesla, when they opened the Gigafactory in Texas, put on like a really cool drone show. And, but you know, it wasn't like something where you'd expect fireworks. It was like the spectacle of it was pretty awesome. But I don't feel like trading fireworks for drones with colored lights is an even trade.
I don't hate fireworks, but I don't participate myself because it's not really good for your environment.
No, many things are. Yeah. I remember once, a long time ago, back when cameras were hard to use, I was like using an Olympus OM1 film camera, and I started shooting all of these pictures of fireworks, and I got to tell you, not a single one of them turned out. Actually, taking pictures of fireworks used to be really hard before all the computers got put on those phones and stuff. You had to know what you were doing to take pictures of fireworks.
It still is, though. It's still very hard to get pictures. I mean, granted, it's not the same issue. It's just they just don't look good. That's all.
Well, doesn't the phone just sort of have like a night mode for stuff like this and just magically fix all of your problems? Like,
I've never found that pictures of fireworks, especially from phones, looked very good. That's just my opinion.
yeah. Well, okay. Well, I will say this: the 4th was pretty uneventful for me. I had to work, and I worked longer than I usually would, and that's just the problem with doing any kind of IT stuff. When everybody else takes the day off, that means you usually get stuck doing things that you normally couldn't get away with. And if you start a project like that and it goes poorly, you're just going to be there for 18 hours. It's just
The backbone of the service industry.
yeah.
I was also in. Yeah, because like now that everything is digitized, like what if a section of payment processing goes down, or this or that, or a lot of businesses do a lot of business on holidays, on long weekends, and like when you're booking trips, to buying products, to all these other things. So yeah, it's I can't imagine your busted ass. Thankfully, when I was working as a chef, like you got paid a lot. Like it was double time and a half for things like Canada Day weekend, and you're getting time and a half for like 4 or 5 days straight. You get like no sleep, but I mean it's worth it. Hey Sora, it's the capybara woman.
Hey, Sora.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hello.
I'm glad you showed up because I have some things that you're going to want to see later in the show, and you would be sad if you didn't see them. I can tell.
It's a
I know
trap,
these
Sora.
things.
It's a trap. Run
No.
away.
You're gonna show me your etchings.
Yeah, that was like the greatest pickup line. Why don't you come up and look at my etchings? This is so beautiful because I'm an artist. So good. Yeah. So what do you think of fireworks versus drones with LEDs? Am I just in the minority here?
I mean, we have drone shows here, and they did a good job. I don't mind them. I'm not a big fan of fireworks. I mean, I've seen some beautiful fireworks, but I think once you have dogs and stuff, you stop liking them. I feel for Serenity.
You know, the professional ones that are up higher, I don't feel like those are as bad for the dogs as the low ones that whistle and pop at
No.
low altitude. I think the illegal ones are way
Yeah.
worse for the dogs.
I think so. They made it illegal here in my municipality to have fireworks, so you can't buy them, unless of course it's part of your religion, because that's fair.
What religion do you need to join to have fun with fireworks?
You have to be. Who does the Diwali? Is that the
Yeah.
Hindu?
I don't
People
want to say
say
because
to
if I
do
screw it
it.
up, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble.
So technically they can do it, but it's a very gray area.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people are saying, well, no, that it's a blanket ban, but then in a neighborhood where they were having the festival, they had fireworks, and nobody stopped them. So
Yeah, I'm of
What
the
is it?
God bless America religion.
yeah, I'm rather the reason why I wasn't upset when they banned it was because a couple years back, downtown, some idiots thought, you know what would be a good thing to do is to set off fireworks from our balcony, like 60 stories up.
Mhm.
And you can guess how well that worked out. There's videos of people it looked like it was some caught fire, and it was a big mess.
Yeah. Well, I did enjoy one thing about the 4th. Mostly, I enjoyed the fact that all the crap that I had to do, at least there was nobody to get in my way. It was like everybody just sort of left. I mean, it seemed like only about a third of the people were left behind. Between the heat and everything else, are like, I'm not going to stay in Silicon Valley. I'm going to like go somewhere else, anywhere else, preferably near like the ocean. It was so it was pretty peaceful. I have to say, that part was kind of okay. Not quite as good as during COVID when I got to be essential in quotes and still had to go to work and drive around. Man, the traffic was so great during the lockdown. I could get anywhere I needed to. Yeah.
Oh, the only thing I miss about that is being able to cut the. My police can't get it. There's no visual evidence. 20-minute or so drive down to 10 minutes or less.
Yeah, it was pretty epic.
And that's purely on speed because technically it could be faster than that if the traffic is decent, but it was like empty. No construction, no traffic, nothing. Oh, it was gorgeous.
That's nice. Well, we have a number of topics. There's no way we're going to get through all of them. So let's see. So, Sora, we can talk about California, housing, the brain, crime, Biden, the UK election, Generation Z, modern problems. There's another thing, but you don't get to pick that one.
Okay.
Can't pick that one either. Food news, satisfying trade
Let's start
videos.
with the brain. Let's start with the brain and hope it's positive because all the bits in the middle are not
Okay.
great. Well, the UK one is not too bad. That's funny.
It's funny because it's
But,
not us.
Yeah. But let's start with brain.
Okay.
We use ours, hopefully.
Well, we can start with the brain. Let's see. I need a bigger monitor. I was complaining about this to Jack earlier. Okay. So the world's most common pain relief drug may induce risky behavior. Tylenol.
Ah,
It turns out that Tylenol, for some strange reason, seems to make people engage in, well, it looks like it makes people engage in riskier behavior than they would otherwise. And it's really widely prescribed. Now, mostly this is like a synthetic experiment. They ask people a bunch of questions and try to gauge their reactions to hypotheticals, and it looks like they tend more toward risky behavior. These are the same kinds of surveys that come back with results like video games make people more violent, right?
Yeah.
Do they actually make people more violent, or do they just seem more violent on surveys? But given that there are like parasites that can cause organisms to, engage in risky behavior, and there's even like a genetic basis, like some people have genes which the gene expression makes them more akin to risk taking, and it's certain European populations. I've always thought that those were the people that got on the small shitty boats and came over here and were the pioneers, and maybe that's why America seems so crazy to the rest of the world, because all of the risk takers self-selected out of Europe and came here.
Well, isn't that just the basic definition of like what's it called? Inhibitions, limiting of inhibitions that you would find with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that basically a similar effect to what you're describing?
Well, I don't know if there's inhibition in terms of other things that would often happen with alcohol. Alcohol can make you make poor choices about a lot of things other than just risk taking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Alcohol is a broad-ranging effect, and it's also kind of a depressant. You don't really see, it's not a CNS depressant like, Tylenol isn't a CNS depressant like alcohol is. So whatever the mechanism is, it has to be quite a bit different. But this looks like a pretty real effect. It says with 25% of the population taking acetaminophen each year, reduced risk perceptions and increased risk-taking could have important effects on society. I mean, this is everything from, what is it contributing to accidents, to people driving? Think of all the things that could be wrong with people if this is actually something that's true. Luckily, it's not a huge thing. Now, the tolerances thing that I was talking about, large study identifies genetic variants linked to risk tolerance and risky behaviors. This stuff is actually pretty well established. They've narrowed it down to a sequence of genes, and people who have it are risk takers, and people who don't, less so. It's very straightforward that we can actually do this kind of stuff. Let's see, what else do we have in the brain? So there's also this thing. The brain makes a lot of waste now. Scientists think they know where it goes. It looks like during sleep, there's something kind of like the lymphatic system for the brain, which is supposed to just get all of the crap from your brain that you accumulate during the day from just using those cells out of the brain. And when this stuff tends to build up, it might be a contributor to Alzheimer's. We still don't know what the hell causes Alzheimer's, but insofar as we're just starting to understand that this system exists, it's another vector that they can look at to try to deal with it. So it says the papers all published in the journal Nature suggest that during sleep, slow electrical waves push the fluid around cells from deep in the brain to its surface. There, a sophisticated interface allows the waste products in that fluid to be absorbed into the bloodstream, which takes them to the liver and kidneys to be removed from the body. One of the waste products carried away is amyloid, the substance that forms sticky plaques in the brain of patients with Alzheimer's disease. Yeah, that seems like a thing you would want to have work well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I'm not going to donate. Shut up, NPR.
Brain.
Yeah. So that's some past due brain stuff here.
It'd be interesting to know whether or not the amyloid is a cause or an effect or both.
Uh-huh.
I guess we'll know whenever they figure out what causes it. But no, that's interesting.
Wait, is I'm sorry, I kind of missed it. Is the amyloid a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad.
That's your brain urine.
Think of it as like
it needs
brain
to
plaque.
It needs to flush that out.
Yep.
And it also attaches to the plaques in the brains that are the result of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's one of those cause and effect things, though. So we don't know if people with Alzheimer's tend to accumulate more plaque from what's there, or whether the increase in the plaque causes the Alzheimer's
to begin with, and then it self feeds into itself.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to get at, Jack.
Yeah, and the whole thing, like between like subtle things that change the way people behave. You know, I like to think that I have free will, that I'm just this rational being, and I wake up and I make decisions for better or worse, and that's just that, right? You know, but I am in some sense like separate from my body. I like to think in those sort of dualism sort of terms, and it scares me whenever I hear like, oh, if you take some Tylenol, you might do something that you wouldn't do otherwise. You know, or this one, behavioral and molecular changes in mice suggest omega-3 fatty acids could combat depression. What, I don't eat enough salmon and I'm going to get sad?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would too. But.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sora's okay. Sora, you eat a lot of salmon, don't you?
That's why people
I think so.
are so
Good
happy.
job.
Hey, I take an omega-3 supplement. I should be okay.
Orally?
Wouldn't you like to know?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, he takes it every morning.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of reasons why.
So mind you, my doctor says that I could eat more.
Oh, good. As long as you're not
I could up my
becoming
fish intake, which
mercurial.
is funny because I thought.
You thought the mercury was bad for you?
No.
That's the only reason to cut back on the fish
no,
intake.
it's good. It's totally good for you.
Mercury?
No, I don't need to cut back. That's the thing. I need to have more.
Oh, good.
Well, tuna maybe, but salmon, local stuff, no, that'll be fine.
It's really good for your heart, and it might actually be good for your brain, too. It's like win-win, and it's delicious. Just give me all the salmon.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great thing.
I increased my beef and pork intake, and my doctor didn't say no. So.
I mean, I got advice from Harry about one supplement that I've been taking, and what I really learned in my research going forward is that fat-soluble supplements and vitamins are shockingly powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that's based around like, especially what's it called? Stuff that's derived from
Oh, that's right. I didn't take my phosphatidylserine this morning.
That's the one I was talking
I'm going to
about.
take 400 milligrams of that right now because it's within arm's reach.
Yeah.
You guys carry on while I make myself smarter.
Phosphatidylserine. That's the one that I take that I really like, and a lot of stuff that's lecithin based seems to be really, really good for your brain. So this
yeah,
wouldn't surprise me at all.
I used to take that in high school,
Phosphatidylserine?
like lecithin stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to take it in the lecithin, especially because of in grade 12 when we were dealing with our finals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have no idea if it did anything.
Yeah.
Those are good and play.
Minions of the Zoo is not giving anybody medical
Graduated high
advice.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
There's something.
Phosphatidylserine, though, I found at the very least it helped with brain fog. So
Yeah.
I take it every day.
As far as I can tell, there's really no downside to it. But, famous last words, where's something would. There we go. We're good.
I'm sure I'm gonna die tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be funny if I said that and I actually died tomorrow?
Yeah, if the Frosted Glass says, for some
Please
reason
don't.
these supplements have to be cooked in a spoon over a lighter. No, those are different supplements. I don't think those are
fun supplements.
I don't think those are performance enhancing either. No, absolutely not. All right, so that's the brain stuff. So that didn't take very long, did it? Let's see. Let's talk about the city of Oakland, shall we? So Oakland, I like to make fun of Oakland because it's a terrible place. Oakland police warn against robbers posing as officers. So now, to add insult to injury, people are going around dressed, saying that verbally identifying as plainclothes police officers in Oakland and using that as a pretext to break into people's homes.
Wait, Harry, are you telling me that there were people who put on police uniforms and go commit crimes as well as robbers in Oakland?
Yes. No, they're
This is such a wonderful place. We should all go visit it.
Oakland just sounds great. So, well, I mean, it's got to be better than, what was it, Toronto Functional, where they were saying that if you should just keep your keys to your car by your front doors. So that way,
Yes,
when people
that's
want to
right.
steal your car, they can just step
No,
right in
that
and say,
was-
"Oh, excuse
that
me,
was
just get me your
Quebec.
keys." It was
That was
Quebec.
It was the French.
Was it the French? I thought it was
Yeah.
Toronto.
No.
Yeah.
We do have an auto theft problem here, but that's actually being addressed. They made a special task force and all, like they're saying they're doing stuff. So who knows?
Nice.
I haven't heard anything really of it. I honestly think it was maybe just a psyop, like a campaign issue.
Well, some governments don't really care about the people that they represent. They take their votes for granted, as far as I can tell. Los Angeles business owners, residents dismayed after city removes homeless encampment measures. So a bunch of businesses, with their own money, put these delightful planters out in front of their stores and things to make it a little, prettier, but also incidentally or coincidentally a little more hostile to homeless people building encampments. Well, the city of Los Angeles had nothing better to do, so the code enforcement people decided that they would just force these things to be removed because these people didn't obtain the correct permits ahead of time.
Oh,
It's not that they
Right.
didn't conform or anything else, but how dare you take any kind of measures to get your property back? It's the worst. And Jack, you know about this kind of nonsense. I'm not directly, but these cities that are just, you hire these people and they don't really care about the people in the city. All they really care about is that their little fiefdom doesn't get challenged. How dare you do something without a permit?
Yeah.
Pleb. It's pretty disgusting because the situation in LA is pretty bleak. And making these businesses take these things out at their expense, because you've got a working solution. You see what you don't see here where these planters are? Homeless people. You see like an RV or like a camper thing behind where the things exist, right? But where there's these planters, there's no tent city, there's no RV farm, there's none of that sort of stuff. And the RVs are terrible because a lot of times since they can't really move some of them, they just dump their black water right into the gutter.
Well, you see, that's
No.
because they view the business owners view the planters as the solution, and the city views the homeless people as the solution.
Well, they can't make their friends rich if there aren't an abundant supply of homeless people to justify their emergency spending measures.
Somehow they still keep voting these people in.
Yeah, it is astonishing.
Air quotes, voting them in.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get deep into the weeds, but I wouldn't be surprised if they use those same homeless encampments to farm some votes.
No.
No one would ever do that. Not just like they would never get illegals to vote in elections.
No.
Hi, Serenity. There's our.
Hi, Serenity.
Yay!
How are the doggos?
It's just the youngest one. He just has panic attacks, and it's just like I had to call.
Poor baby.
Well, the problem is that there's no legal spot around here that's close enough to make the loud noise as it was for them to shoot fireworks off, which means I had to call the sheriff. And I'm like, I don't know where the hell they are. I know they're in one of the thickets around here somewhere, but considering the fact that we've been very lucky with rain, y'all need to hunt some motherfuckers. Because it's like, if I hunt them, it's going to end horribly.
Nice.
He was like, no, he's like, no, it's fair. He's like, we're dealing with a bunch of them. I was like, nope, I understand. I know the boys are doing what they can. Do what you can when you can, but I have a dog who's freaking out right now, so excuse me.
Well, speaking of, this is sort of like taking a wild kingdom approach to the homelessness problem. This is one of the things that they're doing in some parts of California. How shots instead of pills could change California's homeless crisis. So,
Right.
Sterilize them?
Like ringing shots or
no, what they're
those
doing
kinds of shots.
is instead of giving them pills, which they're going to not take for their psychiatric problems, they're just going out into the field and just giving them big old doses by injection, because that'll last longer. The idea of
Why
like,
don't they just do an implant?
you mean like one of those
Omnipod.
hormone things that lasts
Like-
6 months? Yeah,
No, like
Yeah,
the
birth,
like
birth
or,
control and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
or
Or
diabetes.
yeah, exactly like the
Omnipod.
diabetes thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Omnipod, yeah.
Maybe it's just the Canadian in me, but I just would say just kindly escort them away. Kindly
Escort
out.
them to Canada?
Escort them out. No, if they're on your property, you escort them out. If they're in your city, the city escorts them out.
Yeah.
Just say no. You cannot be here. Go. Bye.
It's not a bad idea because essentially you can provide some kind of intervention. It just feels weird to me. It's kind of got a little bit of the ick that they're going full Wild Kingdom on homeless people and
Yeah,
just
I
going
mean-
over and giving them injections, because if they're in a psychiatric crisis of some sort and you're giving them injections, it's like that's just like Nurse Ratched on the street. It just feels weird, but I understand that maybe this works better than giving the prescription they're not going to take.
Well, I mean, it also makes it so they can make sure the drugs don't have fentanyl in them, because then you have a dead body you have to clean up.
Yeah, and I think as far as the implants go, that's not really a ditch medicine kind of thing. You would have to bring them in, and a lot of them aren't going to want to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way to make sure that needles are less likely to end up on the street because they're already high, and usually those type of people, when they're already high, they're thinking about their next high, but they're not, like, manic enough to just do it in the middle of the street and shove a needle in their arm.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, like, I can see the logic. Do I agree with it? No.
Yeah.
But I can see the logic, which I appreciate the fact that I can see the logic.
Well, here's something that I think. See.
Frosted glass, can we start tagging their ears?
Well, yeah, you gotta tag them. You gotta tag them, so that's how
Tag,
you
neuter,
know.
Release.
That's how you know when they've got their last injection. It's kind of like that oil change sticker that they put in your car.
Tattoo the inside of their bottom lip, because that changes every few years. This way we can keep their tags up.
Just stamp them property of the zoo. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's see. I'm going to skip over this gender thing because it annoys me. But this is fun. No, that's the wrong one. Harry, stop it. Oh no, I overwrote it. Oh, crap.
Oh.
I'll find the right thing. We'll talk about this for a moment. So I've told you there are a number of these people that are sort of serial squatters. Well, there was this one woman that she was like really good at convincing people to rent her nice properties in Silicon Valley. And she's gone through multiple ones of these. And the laws finally decided, no, you just get to not do this anymore. And she's actually probably going to go to jail. Thank God. So she was moving into like all sorts of upscale homes. Like I said, over the past decade, she's been prosecuted several times for the same scam, amassing numerous convictions and several stints in custody. So they're going to just maybe lock this stupid woman up. I am very, very excited about this prospect. We need, give jail a chance. That's my motto. I want to see people like this get locked up.
Yep.
What were you going to say, Sora?
She's the kind of person who should really be doing hard labor, like make her dig a ditch.
Yeah.
Not because she did, because it's she seems like the type of person who would not like this kind of hard labor, and it would be hilarious. Like, oh, okay, you inconvenience people, now you're gonna be sunburned 24 hours a day.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Let me see. Can I find the thing that I was supposed to be bringing in the spreadsheet? It's actually kind of a funny thing. I can't remember. Did I send
Funny,
this?
ha.
Yeah, funny, ha. Did I send this to you, Sora?
Let me take a look. I know this one, but no. I think you shared. I feel you shared it before.
Okay. Because when I saw it, I thought of you.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty great. Okay.
In other words, the proper kind of fairy tale. You need a good death of kids.
Yeah. Well, I can't find the stupid article because I'm incompetent. I can't multitask worth a damn. Of course, actually, neither can anybody. So let's just go on to the next thing in the spreadsheet then. So she's going to jail. That's outstanding. We like that.
Yay.
So there's this article, which really kind of took me by surprise here. Bay Area City Council member resigns, blames high cost of living. He's on the Newark City Council. He's been there for 10 years. And he finally just said, I should have moved out of here like 10 years ago. I can't afford to live here. I don't make enough money at my job and being on the city council to make this work. And he just said, I give up. It's so bad that even the people on the city council are having to just leave because even the city council members can't afford to live here.
I mean, hey, if you want to replace a crappy government, I think that this is an interesting, it's at the very least a creative way to go about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, he says the most insane part is even with $60,000 down and a 785 credit score, we can't get into the cheapest house in Newark for less than $7,500 a month.
Holy cow.
That's basically the mortgage that he has to deal with.
Oh, he was a union guy for 20 years.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah. You thought life was fair because you were in a union. You're a dumbass.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
The union feeds you. It's like,
what's
fair?
I'm just curious what happens when the government makes a town so expensive to live in that literally no one is able to live there.
Well, there will be a market correction.
There always is. It's gonna...
I mean,
BlackRock owns it all.
Is this Newark, California?
Newark, California. It's in the East Bay near south of Oakland. Yeah, it's near Fremont.
Me and my colleagues have been talking about the so-called market correction for years now, and we all think it's going to happen. We just don't know when.
The thing is, as much as some people try to act like it, nobody knew the 2008 one was going to happen. There's a lot of people who are like, I saw it coming. No, you fucking didn't. Shut up. So this is one of those things that it's most likely it's going to happen probably. This is my assumption, not based on any math, just based on how stupid people are.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 to 3 months after the election goes through. No matter who wins, that's when it's going to go. Because the Fed keeps refusing to drop our interest rates. So the minute the Fed drops the interest rate is the minute everything goes sideways. Everything goes pear-shaped.
Yeah.
Median sale price for a house in Newark is $1.4 million, up 15.1% year over year. As of the last 6 months, 32 homes have been sold, up 10% from the year over year. The median days on the market is 8 days.
Oh my God.
Wow. Holy crap.
Let me see what else it's got for me.
There's
It is
no-
one of the most competitive markets in California.
There's no way that this many people can afford this sort of housing at this price.
Oh God, no, they're not affording it. They're just going into debt to get it because they think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, house poor.
Yeah. Sale to list price is 110.6%, up 4.5 point year over year. Homes sold above list price. Oh, this is the big one. Homes sold above list price, 96.9%, up 21% a year over year.
Wow.
No home drops of the last 6 months.
Ouch.
No one's ever had to drop it.
What is there exactly?
In
Is
Newark?
it just
It's-
like is it just people want, like, the demand is so high that they're getting away with this, or is it like some really nice something?
Well,
you
it
know,
looks
you
like
know what I mean? Like,
it's a like, okay, I cannot read a map when it's this tiny. Is this a closer? I know it's Oakland, but they're also kind of close to San Francisco too, aren't they?
Okay, here's the deal with Newark. Okay. It's located in a place where if you work in the East Bay, like Oakland, Berkeley, one of those types of places,
Oh, okay.
you can get there. It's also, there's a bridge, there's two bridges they can take to get to work in San Francisco. So they can also drive to San Francisco, or there's a BART station, Bay Area Rapid Transit. So you can get on BART and you can go from Newark all the way to downtown San Francisco if that's what you want to do. So because of that, it's sort of like, don't want to live in San Francisco? You could just live in this other town instead, where things are at least a little bit better. But so many people are living there now that the real estate market's completely overheated, and your city councilman had to step down because he can't afford to live there.
Well, here's the interesting part, because they actually have where people came from that are inbound, and the number one inbound is from Hawaii.
Nice.
oh,
That's the reason why these housing prices aren't weird to them, because they're used to more expensive.
Mhm.
And then the next is New York City, New York.
Mhm.
Third is Santa Barbara, which Santa Barbara is expensive.
Why would you move from what? God, I
I
feel.
don't know.
that-
It's 100 over the last 6 months. It was 182 people.
Have you ever been to Santa Barbara?
I have never been past Las Vegas.
Okay.
So that answers your question.
Okay, so Santa Barbara the people are annoying, but the city is awesome. The food is awesome. The climate is incredible. It's a fantastic place. So there's a University of California, Santa Barbara, in part of the UC system, not the Cal State system, but the University of California system. They literally, as part of the campus, they have a beach.
Nice.
oh,
Yeah,
that's nice.
yeah.
Well,
Talk about what a great place to go to school. And the food. Gosh, the first place I ever had sort of California Nouvelle cuisine in the 80s was in Santa Barbara. And functional, it was everything you can imagine, like the tiny carrot next to the tiny little smudge of sauce next to all the tiny artfully arranged food. It was pretty fun, though. It was a novelty the first time I encountered it. It became less attractive as time went on. Yeah.
a lot of, from what I can tell, it has a lot to do with apparently the average home in Santa Barbara is 2.2 million.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I think people are seeing a chance to make money because the amount that houses have gone up year to date is 43.7% in that area. So people who bought houses even 10 years ago are selling them at amazing markup, so they can sell their house for more, go to Newark for a job or whatever, get a cheaper house, and still have money left over, which is a smart thing to do, but it kind of fucks everything.
Yeah, it does.
Harry Skep is not too late to join, right?
Of course not.
Okay, but that's what like even Santa Barbara, even though they've shown growth, they're only considered very competitive. But everybody's running from New York City. I don't know what's going on, but every list I've looked at on the website I'm on, New York City people like leaving is in the top 5.
Yeah.
So, people are running away from New York City. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they know something we don't, but yeah.
Well, I talked to Jack like a week ago because I had this idea in my head that we would talk about something, because we talk about the housing stuff and stuff costing a ton of money, and we do this all the time, right? Hi, Skep.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I just got in off the road. I just drove in from Santa.
No, I appreciate you showing up. So this will be easy though, because what we're gonna do is, so this is an article that came up, and I don't really care about this article so much. It says, we're passing through the worst housing affordability crisis ever seen, former housing secretary says, and it isn't going to fix itself. Now, Democrats are annoying, okay? Because whenever they talk about jobs, they go, well, how can the government create jobs? And they talk about housing. It's like, how can we get more housing for people? And then they come up with their little schemes to generate more housing.
Yeah, how can we have more cells for the inmates?
But the thing that they never talk about is the supply side. They never think about, why is housing so freakishly expensive? So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Jack on tonight, because we were having a conversation before this talking about, like, well, why does it cost so goddamn much to build a house, to create a house?
What is demand inelasticity?
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of substitutability there when you're dumping your
No.
black water in the sewer. So, so they talk about like what it costs to build a house from scratch, and there's a couple different things. So, looking specifically at California, we have some sort of information here. I mean, and Jack, you said this is largely horseshit, but it's better than having no numbers at all, right?
Yeah.
So to build a 2,500 square foot house in California, they're saying, you know, the hard cost, the materials alone to build that house are $147,000. Does that seem roughly about right? All of the
Honestly,
lumber and stuff?
I couldn't tell you. The thing is that all I can tell you is I live in New Hampshire. I can give you a rough idea of what it costs to get a house in New Hampshire today. A house, 1,000 square foot house with land, and that is any land at all,
Right.
is $300,000 bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Bare minimum. And that seems to be fairly consistent. That's numbers that even I shot out to a realtor, and she was like, "Yep, that's right on the money."
Yeah.
So building a house, however, has the potential to be much more expensive, and not only that, there are other costs that don't really get discussed very much. The big one that comes to my mind is permitting. Permitting is a freaking nightmare. Because it's not just money; it's your blood and sweat that goes into permitting.
Oh well, we're gonna get to permitting. I'm just trying to get the fixed costs out of the way. So, flooring. No, you're good. Flooring, drywall, siding, lumber. Now, lumber went way up after the pandemic. Well, during the pandemic, and lumber started to correct. Lumber prices are dropping a lot, right?
Yeah.
But the government says, "Oh, we're going to build a bunch of housing." Housing is not one of these things where if you build more of it, it gets cheaper. You know, that's
Right, exactly.
that's the point, because if you need to build more houses, lumber's not going to get cheaper, siding's not going to get cheaper, labor's not going to get cheaper, land is not going to get cheaper. The more houses you want to build, each additional house is going to cost more, barring some technological change like the 3D printer thing that extrudes that thing of cement.
No, even that's not going to help.
And even that's not going to help. So they're saying the contractor costs, basically adds anywhere from 10 to 20% to the cost of the overall cost of the house. Architects, HVAC, all of the stuff that you want to do. That's not going to get cheaper if the government says we're just going to build thousands and thousands of houses, right? So you get into electrical costs, that's like $10K for just the electrical wiring for a house. that's not going to get cheaper. The roof, that kind of varies depending on what you're going to get. It could be cheap or it could be $50K. So plumbing comes in at around $12,000. HVAC is about $12,000. And then you get into things like land and preparation of the land, all that sort of stuff. And then you get into here we are.
Up to utilities.
Yeah, and here's your permit cost, Jack. So California home building permit costs $5,000, and that's not just that's just I guess just to they're saying $1,000 to $2,000 for the building permit, $400 for HVAC, plumbing is up to $500, electrical is up to $500. Does that seem about right to you, Jack, or is that that even more than it would be in New Hampshire?
I think it's significantly more.
Okay.
Because they're gonna the first thing that they're gonna want is they're gonna want a survey of the land, and the survey is gonna cost a lot. Also, this doesn't take into account that, I mean, there are a lot of things that goes into whether or not you can even build on a piece of property. One of them is the dimensions of the land.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you going to run across a quarter acre of land out in the wild? It doesn't really happen that much. So what you do is you get a larger piece of land and you go through what's called a subdivision process, as in you take the lot of land and you subdivide it into smaller lots. That is an entire legal process. It is a surveying process. That costs a lot of money. Then you have to actually permit each of the houses on top of it. That means that you have to go through the design process. And the design process can go through many iterations, many times over. Yeah, maybe you can build a house by yourself with one of these lots, but that doesn't really happen all that much.
Well, we're assuming you've got somebody managing the build. Most of this is not like do-it-yourself stuff. The go on to Sears and buy a kit for a house, or the 1950s, oh, my grandparents built their own house. Those days are kind of over, I think.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're going to a contractor, and the contractor is going to want to subdivide the land. They're not interested in selling one house. They want to sell 5 houses. And so you have to go through all the associated processes with that. And by the way, land, not as cheap as they seem to think it is. In southern New Hampshire, at the very least, 1 acre of land can go up for $250,000. 1 acre of land that's undeveloped, nothing on it.
Well, Jack, we covered last week a lot. It was like a 283 square foot house on a lot that was 7,500 square feet.
Yeah.
And it was $2 million, and they basically were buying it just to get the land. So yeah, you can always point to land that's more expensive in a particular state. I think when you're talking about like how are we going to get homes for all these newcomers that are coming in and all these homeless people that they're just saying they're going to hand out housing to because housing's a right, I don't see how government can solve this problem. They were building in this high-rise thing in LA apartments for homeless people, and it worked out to $650,000 per unit to build these things in LA.
Well, government's not the solution. Government's the problem, because they keep coming in, and I'm not even talking about the federal government.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the local government. It's the local government. They keep making these additional restrictions that make it harder and harder for everyday people to actually build anything on their own damn land.
Okay, I have a question for you, Jack. This is actually the important question. If you were God, legally speaking, what would you do to make housing more affordable for everybody?
Well, I would start by slashing almost all of the regulatory stuff. The first thing I would do is I would find some way to get an impartial committee to actually measure the impacts of some of these environmental standards that we hold to. Those are LEED standards, LID, or the stormwater, the impacts of stormwater infrastructure. This might not be relevant in every part of the country, but it's very relevant in New England. I would want to know the impacts on the actual environment, if they are considerable at all, because a lot of money, and not only a lot of money, but a lot of land use goes into these so-called environmentally friendly practices, which, as far as I can tell, we don't actually know if they work or not. So if we could get rid of, if we did a test and we found that they weren't doing anything really practical to help the environment, we could just ditch them altogether, and we could save a lot of space on the property, because a lot of space gets taken up by this stuff. A lot of ridiculous stuff, like you got people who are building these tiny little ponds. They're called dry ponds. They don't hold water. They just store water during a storm in the middle of their property, even though their property wasn't generating any stormwater runoff in the first place. We just put it there for some reason.
Mhm.
These things, I don't know if they're useful or not. And frankly speaking, I'm starting to think that they're not useful at all. And so if we could get rid of some of this legal language, it would save people an awful lot of money. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I have an idea. Why don't we try building, especially if it's like a government housing, it makes absolutely no sense to take people who can't function in society for whatever reason and to give them housing in a place like LA, certainly like downtown LA.
Yes.
What is the problem with just putting them where the land costs half as much? Just building houses somewhere where it's cheaper. Even if somebody has a right to housing, do they have a right to housing on demand wherever they damn well please? You know, they're not going into Beverly Hills and just saying, I'm going to pitch my tent. They just move them out.
But then you're going to run into the issue of what sort of government is going to accept having a whole bunch of homeless people camping on their front yard. Yeah, I mean, LA may not be the cheapest place to live, but they're probably going to be more open to having homeless housing, considering all of the encampment problems they have.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the next door neighbor who has a lot of cheap land, they're gonna fight like hell to make sure that the homeless don't move in, because they don't want property values to go down.
Yeah, and actually not building a Pruitt-Igoe again is probably a good idea if you actually want this to sort of succeed. I think it was a huge mistake to let millions and millions and millions of people into this country when we already have problems with housing.
Yes.
It's just absolutely insane. So if Trump actually does become the deporter-in-chief, that might help, because if you look at the rates, if you imagine that we hadn't let a bunch of people in, and you look at the fertility rates in the U.S., there would be fewer and fewer people, and the price of real estate would essentially collapse. It's as if the government wants to keep real estate expensive, if you look at the things that they do, in order to keep the vested interests that donate to them well-heeled. Because imagine you own like 100 houses, and over time they become cheaper and cheaper because there are fewer and fewer people in the United States that need them. Because that's what would happen without immigration if you didn't change anything else.
Imagine if you own a lot of property and say your company is, I don't know, Rack Block. I don't know, something sounds like that. And the affordability of housing or the price of housing halved overnight. Oh, that would be really terrible for that fictional company.
So we don't lose everybody else who's here. Sora, did you have any questions for Jack or comments or anything?
It just sounds really depressing. We have the same issue here with people feeling like it is their right to live where they want to live, and we have issues where people are building homeless, like actual buildings for those who are unhoused, and are getting pushback from these people because they are not being provided with top of the line utility, like top of the line appliances and furniture, and so they turn around and destroy the units they are provided for free because they feel like they didn't get the level they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that's going to be fixed, but building more houses at that expense, or housing, pardon me, at that expense is not the answer. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can't build your way out of this.
Bringing something like this into, say, a downtown core, or this what is already an expensive area, that is just going to make things a hell of a lot more expensive for people. And it does feel like a conspiracy, not going to lie.
Yeah, well, you look
when
at,
you
you know,
think
where's
about
the
it.
money
Like,
go, right?
yeah, because you look at it as someone who is at the age of where you would be wanting to look like, okay, how much is a mortgage? You know, first home buyer credits, this and that. It's very exciting. Whether you're aiming for like a bachelor to purchase or first one bedroom or a house, whatever, you that used to be available. That doesn't exist. And even though, and then people say, well, suck it up, move to a suburb. Those don't exist anymore because
Yeah.
you are going from a city where it's $4 million, or we'll say $1.5 million for an apartment that's shitty. Like they say, oh, it's one bedroom, but it's nothing. It's like the square footage is ridiculous, and then you have to put strata fees on top of that. That is an apartment. If you go to, that's a house in the same city, you're looking at multiple $1 million. If you're going out to a suburb, it's still $1 million. Like, I mean, it's not like when they say, oh, it's
It's
cheaper. Yeah,
maybe
sure,
like
it's
10%
cheaper,
less.
Yeah.
but it's not. It is not you can't. So they're pushing people out more and more further out, and away from all the utilities, away from healthcare, away from anything that you need for the reason to be in a city or in wherever, and they stay empty because there's nobody in there. So what the heck's going on? So when you see this, yeah, it's hard not to get tinfoil hat a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice to see we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
It's depressing, but it's, you know.
So functional. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Serenity. I mean, Sora.
I have nothing positive or anything to say. It's just, this is
We'll do a
listening
palate
to
cleanser
these
after
is
this.
exactly what's happening, and I'm very sorry. I didn't know you were going to do this. I should have. I don't even remember what the name of the companies are, but more and more of these development companies, like the ones who build towers, they're going out of business here. They're being forced. Either the government's buying it back, or they're going in foreclosure or something like that, or equivalent here. And so either plants are being scrapped. So now, because they gave so many of because they wanted to densify everything. We are in desperate need of housing is the political talking point. So they gave all of these developers, oh, it's easy money, quick money. We're going to basically destroy a whole neighborhood full of single or maybe duplex style homes. And we're going to put towers on here. Or downtown, we're going to destroy the older building that may have been 10 stories, displace everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So those people now scrambling to either find a place to live or get out of town, because these tend to be low income, semi-rent control places, to build their tower. And now the developer doesn't have funding anymore. So that's stalled, and maybe stalled for the next 10 years.
Well, that sounds a
But
lot
the
like.
land's not going to be sold to anybody.
No,
The
no,
land's
no.
going to stay empty.
Well,
right?
China's a big mess too, and I know Serenity follows that. It's like, as bad as our problems are here, what the hell's going on in China? Not only are they having trouble building housing, but when they do, it falls over because it's so poorly built.
Well, their issue is that they're building fake asset-driven housing, and then it's just ghost cities that have nothing.
Yeah.
Like their subway just collapsed a month ago.
Oh yeah, that's
They're-
right. The big
No.
hole.
The inflation in China is only 2.0%, and it's been that way exactly 2.0% for the last 10 years. Did you know that?
Yeah,
That was
I
the official
believe-
Chinese figure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe everything they say.
That's
But-
why there's two. That's why there's 2 yuan.
Oh, I won't get off topic, but yeah, there's a bunch of crazy shit going on in China. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Oh,
I just wanted.
No. We're just going around. I'll get to you. I promise. I know you have things to say about this, but I wanted to ask Functional. Did you ever play any of like the Sim City type things, the city builder sim games?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because I actually don't play a lot of games. I mean, I used to, but I don't. Had a group of friends. We'd go out to barbecue. We would drink expensive whiskey and play video games. That was what we did every Friday. I do miss those days. But in terms of just things that I will play on my own, I love sim things quite a bit. But at some point when you're building your town, you're like, I'll I have to put in a whole bunch of new power lines and sewers and all this other stuff, or I can just level all these single family homes and put up these big buildings. And anybody who's played like a sim game knows that as you grow a city, this is one of these things you end up having to do.
Yeah, you have to build up.
You have to build up.
Right.
But it's different when it's real life and real people.
Yes, but I mean the principles are generally the same. That I mean, expansion happens, and like as you're demolishing these single-family homes in the core of a city and putting up bigger buildings, you're also expanding outward and putting more single-family homes in the suburbs. But that being said, infinite expansion does not work. It's not feasible. It's not sustainable or tenable, anything.
No.
So you have to, at some point, say, okay, this is enough. And I see the housing problem. There's a multi-pronged problem. And that's only one of like 4 major prongs that have to be addressed. And given the political swing shift in some areas, I think the UK is going to have a hard time with it. But you guys probably will do better. And
Cross fingers, break Jesus.
we, depending on what happens down there, will either be stagnant or it'll push us over our proverbial edge.
Yeah.
I
So
don't want to say too much because it's getting into the next topic.
yeah. Well, so Skep, you've been very well behaved. I know you want to say something about this.
No, I'm actually just tired.
Okay.
Look, China basically has some contra, some kind of unusual things going on. It does have some disinflationary forces that work against it in like the producer price stuff. They because they have a demand problem. They have reduced consumption right now, and when that and they depend on big consumption numbers to fund their economic growth. So their growth curve gets compressed. When the growth curve gets compressed, the economy basically becomes less optimistic. There's less chance taking. There's less entrepreneurial growth, and you have this vicious cycle where it just feeds on itself. And that's sort of what is happening internally with China. Externally with China, their currency is everybody's just waiting to mug that currency. Everybody's just waiting for them to float that currency, and it's toast.
Yeah.
So stand by.
Yeah.
That'll happen too. That'll happen next year or two. I really think they're gonna consolidate the yuan and float it.
All right. I think we
They're
need
gonna
to
have to.
we need to do a palate cleanser. So Sora,
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yes.
you're fine?
I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
The only thing I have to say is this. Well, I do understand where people are coming from and the new boogeyman that is BlackRock. At the same time, average house size has almost tripled compared to what it was in the 50s. Because
Yeah.
average house size in the 50s was 983 square feet. In the States. I don't know about Canada. I apologize.
People
But-
used to have
You
one
think
bathroom.
That has to do more with
People used to have
emergent
one bedroom
technologies and building more vertically.
Well, that's the thing.
or-
Well, that's the thing is that we're now in the average United States. The average house in the United States is 2,100 square feet. That's
Is
almost
that average?
triple.
Really?
Yeah, we're 2164.
Yep.
I
Well,
didn't
yes,
know
but the
that.
reason that
Wow.
the houses are getting bigger is because they keep buying bigger houses.
Well,
People
well,
keep buying bigger and bigger houses.
the issue is
Well,
that
no,
is
building
it,
bigger houses. that's
it's
how you
more
get 'em.
of it's a chicken and an egg kind of thing. Even though I know scientifically we know what came first, but stay with me. It's more than that. Nowadays, in a lot of cities, now a bedroom cannot be categorized as a bedroom unless there's a bathroom attached. That's not how it used to be. I should know.
No, it has to have a closet. You don't have to have an ensuite to be a
there's-
bedroom.
Oh no, there's places now where it has to have a bathroom.
I'm not saying those places don't exist. I'm just saying that I don't think that's the norm.
It's the norm enough that I've seen people screech about it on social media, when someone shows an apartment in New York City, like a 2-bedroom, and one bedroom has a bathroom and the other bedroom doesn't. And they're
Ensuite
like, well, no,
life
that's
is the
not
best. Ensuite life is the best life.
Very
I mean,
true, but
yeah.
I've spent my entire life with one that doesn't have an ensuite. But anyway,
Yeah.
But it's like everything has to have the capability for cable. Everything has to have the capability for internet. Everything has to have the capability for HVAC. Everybody wants 2-car garages. There's so much more than there used to be. I live in a house that was built in 1965. The only reason why we have a garage is because my grandfather built it after he bought the house.
Good man.
Because he was that much of a contrarian. And he
No.
wasn't paying anybody to build it. But we are a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Regular kitchen, dining room, living room. This style of house is not the norm anymore. This is 1,100 square feet. This is not the norm anymore. And I get what you're saying, Jack, but at the same time, a lot of these these massive suburb developments where it has a contract builder who lets people pick and choose what they want, people almost always pick bigger houses. That's the reason why the size have gone up even before a lot of this other stuff was happening. People wanted bigger houses and bigger houses, even though the family size was getting smaller.
It's better value, though, so
I understand.
the more you
logic
spend, the more you buy, the more you save.
Well, it's like I kind of understand but the McMansions in the 90s and the early 2000s are what effed us.
Oh,
Those houses.
you don't need to tell me about McMansions.
Because there's a housing development not too far from me that's McMansions, and I hate all of them. They're ugly as sin.
So many nouveau riche douchebags in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
The thing is that nobody is building starter homes anymore. Everybody is building larger and larger homes, like McMansions, for example. And the reason is that they keep selling. There hasn't seemed to be any lull in the market for selling these really overly large and overly expensive housing. But that doesn't mean that the effects haven't trickled down to the rest of the market, because just because people aren't building bigger houses doesn't mean the smaller houses aren't going on sale. That effect has trickled down to the smaller houses, which is why I threw out that number earlier, 1,000 square feet in southern New Hampshire, $300,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, and
That's
I understand,
absurd.
and I understand that, but the issue is a lot of times the smaller houses are now closer to city centers than they used to be. Those smaller houses used to be on the extreme suburbs, but now city centers and city jobs have moved closer to the smaller houses. It's what's happened here in West Virginia with the 2 major cities, Huntington and Charleston. They have a lot of the houses that were built by the factory workers are now near Huntington. A lot of the smaller houses are now near the university campus because the university came many years later. There's a lot of cause and effect, and it's a lot of it I don't think can be actually ever found to go back to what it originally was. Is it pure greed? Maybe. Is it manipulation? Maybe. Is it human stupidity? I'm going to go with that one. But it's the whole fact of there's a trickle down, but the trickle down is also affected by the idiots who overspend, get themselves in debt, house gets foreclosed, and then they leave, and then someone buys the house for really dirt cheap, flips it, and makes people pay even more money for a dog shit done house flip. There's the need to keep up with the Joneses is what's fucking everybody. Who gives a shit what they think?
The Japanese learned that lesson in the 70s.
Well, and that's the thing, is that if there seemed to be an ebb in America when the tiny house movement started to happen, that kind of started to cut that off, and then all the tiny house asshole manufacturers started making them for $100,000, and then that ballooned.
Okay, now you're making me
greed.
sad.
Well,
I would really like to set up an ADU because I would like to have a home office. In order to put something together, it's like at least 50,000, closer to 80 or 90, just to make something that would either function as a tiny house or an office for me.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it ties back to the thing that nobody ever thinks. The capitalistic market thinks about it more than the other systems. And libertarianism does too. But communism and socialism never thinks about this, and fascism doesn't either, not really, ironically, is human greed. Whether it's human greed for money, human greed for things, human greed for attention, that's what screws all of us in the end, is this obsessive need to have things that you really don't need. They are confusing want with need and not understanding that they're not the same thing.
The thing is, if that was strictly the case, then the banks wouldn't be lending out to these people.
Yeah, it's
Why
not
wouldn't they?
strictly the case.
Because
It's
it would
part
not
of the
be-
case.
It would not be in their financial interest to loan to people who they thought weren't going to pay it back.
I know, but that's the thing. These people are still paying it back. They're going into debt, massive debt, but they're house poor. So they're still paying for it because they think they still need to keep the large house instead of selling it and just sizing down.
It's a time preference thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What we're really dealing with is people will make decisions like, I need spinner rims on my giant SUV, or I need a bigger house that's got like a closet for my tennis shoe collection. And I will skimp on things like health insurance because I'm young and I don't need to worry about that right now. People often will trade current consumption for, against sort of their long-term well-being. So people are not perfectly rational actors. That's definitely true. But speaking of not rational, Sora, do you see what I have on the screen here?
It's perfectly rational. It's the best thing I've ever seen.
Hamanabu,
It's the only reason I'd visit Japan.
An ocean sunfish with a lily blooming on its head is the mascot for the Oita Marine Culture Center in Japan. I
Lovely.
feel like they've made sunfish worse.
Of course it is.
They made it better. Look how sweet and pretty she is.
Can I say this? I love this Twitter account. This Twitter account is awesome.
Mondo mascots, yeah.
Yes.
So
It's-
here,
Look at the knife.
so
It's
you know
so ridiculous.
what I
but
did not
love it.
realize is that the Monterey Bay Aquarium actually has sunfish, and I'm glad that I haven't gone there in 20 years, because yeah. So here's the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and we're gonna feed a sunfish. So it's like, look at it, look at it, look at it try to function. Look at that derpy
Look
fish.
at the nice little. Look at the nice baby. He's just
He could barely eat.
No brains.
He's
Here's vibes.
Like,
He's just vibing.
yeah.
what? Like,
If
There's-
only
there's-
life was this like chill. Look at that little
The-
blob of.
this reminds
weird.
me. This reminds me. I was once in an environmental class,
Mhm.
and they showed us a picture of this big ugly fish with like this gnarly teeth that was like in Boston Harbor or something like that. And I flat out asked an environmental class if maybe some of these creatures weren't meant to survive.
kissy, kissy.
So what kind of fish swims like that? Look at what is going on with that. That's not how a fish is supposed to swim.
Ah.
Oh yeah.
It's a weird sight. That is not a normal fish.
No, that actually that stroke is actually called the loser stroke. Loser
No.
fish use it.
He has
Yeah,
aspirations
garbage
of being
fish.
a bird. He is flying and living the best life. You're just jealous.
Yeah.
It's the
I mean,
stupidest
how many
looking
babies
creature.
does it have at one time, Ari? Wasn't it like 300
Thir-
million? or
30
something like that?
million, yeah, or something
Yeah.
like that. Just some insane number.
Like, that's how you make sure you don't die out, babies.
So I was actually a little afraid that I might have eaten one of these at some point, okay? Because I've eaten opa, and somebody referred to opa, which is a Hawaiian fish, as sunfish. And I started thinking, oh God, I didn't actually eat one of these damn things, did I? And so I
No.
frantically had to go look. Opa is the moonfish.
Yeah,
We moonfish people don't have time for sunfish.
they're called mola.
Can
Yeah.
I
Mola, mola.
Can I just express? I'm pretty sure this fish
Bird?
served me a burger earlier.
Probably.
I need to work too.
Let's see. Where do
Gotta
we
put
want to
them
go?
fins to use.
Well, okay, so there's another thing I want to talk about, and it might take a little bit of time.
Maybe some sage.
Yeah, a little parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. So are any of you guys familiar with a guy named Terrence Howard?
Yes.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds
Okay,
familiar.
I apologize, Serenity, because
Oh, this
that's
guy,
what we're
yeah.
going to talk
Oh,
about.
what
The
did
crazy
you do?
psycho? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Here we
Okay,
go.
here we go. Serenity knows what's happening. Anybody else know about Terrence Howard?
He's
No.
he's weird.
Okay.
For Cocoa Puffs.
So he's an actor who's made some very interesting claims lately. One of them is that he remembers being in his mother's womb,
Oh,
and he
God.
came up with a grand unified theory of everything when he was 8, but he lost it and had to sort of come up with it all over again.
And they were on some golden plates, weren't they?
They were. They were. And you had to use a seer stone to figure out what it was saying.
You have to get the seeing stuff
And read it inside a hat. So it's this guy who you've seen in Iron Man and Hustle and Flow and all sorts of other things. So he's an actor, and he's a decent enough actor. And he seems like a nice enough guy. He was in the music industry, and I guess he got sort of Me Too'd and then had to become an actor. Now, what you have to do to get kicked out of the music industry, I don't know.
Yeah, really, like Jesus.
Rick James is.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So he was on the Joe Rogan Experience recently, and he made some rather bold claims about all sorts of things. Let's see, get rid of that. And he ended up being brought back on with Eric Weinstein, who himself is a little controversial. Okay,
Yeah.
He's a bit heterodox, I would say, but he does
That
understand basic mathematics and physics, and he's friends with all the right people, and so I mean, he's a good guy to basically come in and be the Terrence Howard whisperer. So they did another follow-up recently where Terrence Howard came on and Eric Weinstein came on, and they had another conversation with Joe Rogan. And it's made like regular news, like people are actually talking about this who haven't even seen it. So this is in something called Sportskeeda. Eric Weinstein gets raw and viral Jerry debate with Terrence Howard, says money is the real reason behind academic infighting. It's kill or be killed. Okay. There's a frothy mix of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So part of his argument is, well, of course, nobody's going to listen to me because I don't have the right pedigree scientifically, and people in science are all corrupt, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is that he was able to go on to the Joe Rogan Experience not once, but twice, and has actually and say all this stuff, which is awesome. Because I don't want anybody having the ability to shut down Joe Rogan because they're fact-checking. In fact, if anything, I think he's actually disproven his own point. Yeah, he's a famous actor and stuff, but he's gotten the time of a number, obviously a number, but a significant number of academics who've looked at some of his ridiculous claims and talked about them. And I think the fact that we're even having a conversation about some of his ridiculous claims is overall pretty good, because I don't think most people spend a whole lot of time thinking about mathematics and how numbers work, or gravity and what it is, and any of these other types of things. It's just not a conversation that most normal people have. So one of his claims was that 1 times 1 doesn't equal 1. Instead, it equals 2. And he has like this whole rationale for why that's the case.
Okay.
And it's hard as a math person to look at something like that and not just go, this is absolutely insane. Now, as far as 1 goes in the natural numbers, meaning things that are, I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole on this sort of stuff. I realize this page looks scary, but the main thing is that there's one and only one number in the natural numbers that has the property that 1 has, meaning that 1 times some other number is that number, that other number. There's no other number that meets that criteria. It is a definitional sort of thing. Yeah. You absolutely cannot have like this 1 times 1 equals 2 nonsense going on.
Hey Harry.
Yeah.
You know how I know this website is accurate? Because it looks like it was coded in the 1990s.
Quality.
They got time for that.
Quality. Yeah, that's a good point. So, let's make this bigger. Okay, so I made like a little slide. So for instance, if 1 times 1 equals 2, that causes some severe problems, right? Because 1 times 2 would be 1 times 1 plus 1. That, using the distributive property, gives you basically, it's 1 times 1 plus 1 times 1, which he's defined as being 2, which would mean that 1 times 2 equals 4. And basically all of your multiplication table just blows up.
Right, yeah.
If,
wouldn't have consistent anything.
You know what? You know how I made this slide, Skep?
How?
In LaTeX. Using Emacs.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. Because why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. So, but his mathematics is terrible. Similarly, he does some absolutely terrible things with chemistry. Because he's read some old chemistry texts and has like this idea of some new
Let's hear his
old
chemistry ideas.
periodic table based on
boy.
octaves of elements and frequencies and musical tones, and it's all just sort of nonsense. But I was trying to figure out, well, what point did I want to make about this? I think it's really great that we're able to have conversations like this, because remember during the pandemic when people were talking about all the fact checkers, I really don't want the government to have the authority to shut people down. And I think it's fine for Joe Rogan to give people with heterodox positions the ability to come on and talk about bullshit. I don't even mind the flat earthers. I think they're hilarious. I think people should be able to say whatever stupid shit they want to say. Serenity, you know about Terrence Howard. He's made a lot of ridiculous claims. Like he says gravity is a effect, not a cause. He's got a bunch of weird ideas about, I mean, I can't even cover all the things. We could spend hours talking about just how many things he's wrong about.
Yeah.
Did anything catch your attention?
Oh God. No, because it's one of those. It's like, I like to know who the crazies are, and thankfully, I now know who the crazy is. The one thing because I'm gonna try to be nice.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a bad person.
Oh yeah,
honestly.
no, he's just very arrogant.
Here you go, Sora.
But that's most actors. I'm not going to judge him just because every other freaking actor is the exact same way. But he did have. It wasn't on Joe Rogan. I think it was on another podcast, and I can't remember the name of the podcast. But he broke down how much money he made from the movie Hustle and Flow. For those who do not know, Hustle and Flow is a pretty big movie. He sang in it, he did a bunch of stuff, and how he made pretty much no money from, because they used his actual vocals in the movie and sold the soundtrack, but because of the contract he signed, he made no money from it. And he technically doesn't own his masters.
That sucks.
And I appreciate this day and age of this kind of stuff, not only for seeing the crazies, but also so this way people who've always dreamed of being an actor, a writer, a musician, can kind of see the reality of the BS. And either A, take steps to protect themselves, or B, I can just look at him and go, well, that was your fault. There's tons of information out there.
I hate to be that guy, but
No, you don't.
But you will be anyway.
but I will be anyway. Does he actually provide a rationale as to why 1 × 1 = 2?
No.
He did. I thought he did. I thought he did to Weinstein.
What was it? Sorry.
It was
the rationale that he applied.
I can tell you what it was. It was
Yeah,
basically he
I
was
wanna
claiming he has like this weird idea that it somehow bothered him that the sum of the square roots of something could be more than the something that you took the square root of. Specifically, the fact that the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 is larger than 2. That seemed to, he felt that was sort of unjust. So he started getting into the idea that multiplying means you should get more of something. So he's just decided that the concept of 1 offends him because you're not getting more of something. I'm hearing a terrible amount of noise from somebody.
I'm sorry.
Is
So
that
he
you?
did- he-
Okay.
Under my microphone.
Okay.
So he thinks that 1.5, or he thinks that 1/2 × 1/2 should be 1.5.
Yeah. So he.
basically, by the logic he tries to use, I can see. It's one of those things I can kind of sort of see how he gets to it, because I dealt with some people who think convolutedly, but at the same time that doesn't make it right. It's
Yeah.
like, it's once again, it's that I see what he's going for, but that doesn't mean he actually has any clue about what he's talking about. And I'm not even a big math person. I'm a geometry person, not an algebra person. So it's, even I was sitting there going, holy crackers, this guy's out of his mind.
I mean, I
think my brain shut off for its own safety a couple times.
Yeah.
The thing about math is that sometimes, in order to keep the rules consistent, you must have unintuitive results. Like, there's an infinite series where it's all positive. Is it all natural numbers and you add them all up and then you can you can add them all up and you get -1/12. I think it is.
I have no idea what
If you
you're
add
like
all
what-
if you add all the natural numbers, you will not get a negative number because of the
No,
closure
that's-
because of the closure property of natural numbers. Addition of two natural numbers always gives you another natural number. Minus anything is not a natural number. That's an integer.
Hold on. Oh, why am I not finding it? Hold on, come back to
It
me.
doesn't exist.
Do you mean 1/12 or do you mean -12?
No, it's 112.
Okay.
Proof. There's this bizarre proof. There's an infinite series that you can add together and you get a negative number, and it's the most bizarre thing.
Well, I look forward to having you send that to me at some point. The reference. So here's the periodic table that he likes so much. It's from this guy named William Russell, and it's a completely useless thing. It comes up with some predictions for future elements which never were found. Does this look like a useful thing? You're trying to do some chemistry, Skep, and then somebody says, "Here you go, totally awesome."
Jesus.
This is basically phrenology for the elements. I mean, there's just nothing useful in any of this.
Yeah, this is absolute garbage, and he's using some of the trappings of chemistry. This is really dishonest. I don't like this at all. This is making me mad.
Okay, well let's make you mad at somebody else. So he got into a bit of a dust up with Neil deGrasse Tyson over this because he really feels that Neil deGrasse Tyson should be giving him more attention because he has these revolutionary ideas.
No one should give it. Nobody who's sane actually wants attention from Neil deGrasse.
So while I was thinking about it, I was thinking, Terrence Howard is not a danger to the world. He's not a danger to himself. He's not a danger to the world. He's actually probably kind of a weirdly bright guy in some sort of ways, but all of this weird Messiah complex Dunning-Kruger stuff is getting in the way because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Because he's clearly actually gifted in some ways. Not in terms of math or chemistry, mind you. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, in my opinion, is much, much more dangerous than Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard is just some esoteric, weird artist guy.
He's an artist.
Who's got some weird, loony opinions about stuff.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson has actual.
Neil deGrasse Tyson says stupid things about, like, nuclear weapons. Things that could affect people into making decisions that could end humanity. He says like really important things that are wrong, or say really wrong things about important things, like nuclear weapons, desalination, etc., etc., etc. And I've called him out more than a few times. But I wouldn't take away Neil deGrasse Tyson's platform either. Just to be clear, I endorse people saying stupid things. Yeah, it's like going into the intellectual space, and it's the same thing as having a mullet and then going to school. People are going to ridicule you, and then you're going to realize that you're stupid, and you're going to get a better haircut, or you're just going to wear the mullet anyway because that's the way that's how you fly your freak flag.
That's how you roll.
That's how you roll. So, anyway, I don't need to beat this particular issue to death. Any final thoughts before we move on to something else?
I sent you the link to the proof.
That proof. Okay. Is it okay if I look at this after?
Yeah, go for it. It just for the chats, the proof states that if you add the series 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way to infinity, you get -1/12. It's pretty wild.
Oh yeah, there's a mathematician. That's partially what I found. There was someone who wrote an article that supposedly disproves that.
What?
That's what I found when I did the -1/12 thing.
No. This is not how math works.
It just depends what you mean by sum.
I don't care about where the asymptote goes for this sequence. That has nothing to do with anything.
Did you look at the proof, Harry?
I don't need to look at the proof.
Dude,
Jesus Christ.
on.
Okay.
This is like saying the Big Bang the Big Bang didn't happen. Somebody asked me why. God.
Okay.
So silly.
So, if anybody wants to actually learn some real stuff, I will give you a recommendation for something that doesn't suck. And it's from a few years ago, and this is a series, gosh, what is it? It's called, Jim Al-Khalili, Adam Clash of the Titans, and it's basically a 3-episode thing where they talk about what went on in Copenhagen when they basically started talking about the foundations of quantum theory. So you can get into the intellectual bitch fighting between Schrodinger and Niels Bohr and all that sort of stuff. It's actually a really well-made series and totally worth your time. So if you've got 3 49-minute segments of time available in your life and you want to learn something for real and not bullshit like Terrence Howard comes up with, this gets my highest recommendation. I wish I could get it in HD. This is the best copy I could find. It's in the chat. But it really just highest recommendation, absolutely outstanding, totally worth a look. So
I'll definitely be checking this out. Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah. It's a hard thing to talk about because it's really one of those things where we can talk about it for 10 minutes or we can talk about it for 10 hours. And we don't want to do that. Okay, so let's see. What do we want to do next? Oh, I guess we really do have to talk about some of the politics things. I want to complain. Everybody knows about the George Stephanopoulos thing, right? Biden completely screwed up the debate that he had with President Trump. And now people were calling for him to sort of step down as a candidate. And he had this 21-minute thing with George Stephanopoulos, pre-taped, so of course it couldn't get any easier. And he was not pressing him at all. They're sort of claiming that this proves that he's got what it takes. It was just a bad day of debate. Now, as a person who has gotten sick, taken a bunch of Imodium, and then had to go into a day of interviews with people, technical interviews, I know what it's like to screw things up. I mean, I've done it. I have crashed and burned and not been able to describe pointer to void before. I mean, it's happened, okay? Where I show up with like a tiny fraction of what I'm capable of. But that's not what happened with Biden. Okay, we've seen the slow degradation of Biden over time. I'm going to start with the funny thing. So, there's that woman online who does these great Kamala Harris impersonations.
Mm-hmm. She's awesome.
Yeah.
That's her. Yeah, no audio.
We have no audio?
No
No.
audio.
Oh,
We can.
Yeah, but her expressions are really good.
why are you having no audio? Give me a moment here.
Or it's like very, very faint.
Oh, never mind. I was using the wrong button on my Rodecaster. Here, let's try this again.
Listen
Use
to
the
your
right-
earpiece service.
There you go. Good.
All right,
Good
just
job.
try to follow
Did
the
it.
teleprompter as best you can. All right, we're gonna do our best. Listen to your earpiece, okay? Me and Barack, we're all gonna be right behind you, telling you what to say. All right, don't fuck it up. Stick firm on the plan. All right, we're the ones that did that. No, we know he did it, but we're taking the credit for it. Snap out of it. With the cap to insulin. Alright, remember we undid that because he did it first and then we went ahead and pretended like we did it. You remember that?
She's got the facial expressions down. She's really gotten good at this.
Yeah, no, don't admit that. Yeah, we want the American public to think that we're the good guys. Alright, hold still. You're bleeding from your nose again. Yeah, don't scream. Alright,
It's too good.
Just wonder.
You're bleeding from your nose again. She looks like she's adjusting RoboCop right after the surgery,
Yeah.
Just, hey, let's get your visual circuits tied
Yeah.
in here. And
They fix everything.
yeah, good times. That goes on for a while. I really do like her impressions. But there was this thing in NPR after the Stephanopoulos thing. So it's fun to see what his supporters say about his performance, right? Because, of course, we all know it's bullshit. And every one of us is kind of like, yeah, well, he's terrible. But even people who are supposedly on his side, the takeaways are he was better than in the debate, but his age is clearly showing. You think? Biden showed his stubbornness for good or ill. Yeah, he's really good at being cranky and old. That's awesome. Basically, only force majeure is going to drag him out of the race. It's not entirely clear that he thinks Kamala Harris can actually do the damn job. He knows that it's important what happens in the polls this week, and the whole episode shows a stark difference between the Democratic and Republican parties. Now, this is the part where it really, really pissed me off.
How?
Okay, let's just unpack this a little bit here. That Democrats have raised as many questions as they have about Biden's viability shows a huge difference between the major parties. See, because they're soul-searching, Skep. One party, the GOP, doesn't seem to care if 24 women have accused their nominee of sexual assault. Don't care if he ran a fraudulent foundation and a sham university. Well, that's kind of fair on that one. Don't care if he paid off a porn star. I really don't. Don't care if he lies repeatedly. No. He's a sales guy. I don't care. And don't care if he was impeached twice or was convicted on almost 36 felony counts.
It's all political.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Don't care. We really don't care. But the person writing this article, which is on NPR, this just passes for journalism because this is not even remotely objective. We just write shit like this as journalists now as part of narrative-driven journalism.
Exactly right.
We don't. The vermin do.
That's what we do.
Yeah, NPR is really not fit for purpose.
No. NPR needs to be defunded. Yesterday.
Absolutely. NPR defunded, BBC defunded.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Voice of America can still get a budget. Okay, I'll that's fine as long as we're, sending rock and roll music into Cuba to destabilize them. That's fine. But other than that,
send some money to National Endowment for the Arts. But
yeah,
they can't use it to have a communist radio station. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'll make a pound cake. We can put it up in the bake sale to raise some money for Voice of America. Absolutely,
that'd be perfect.
Yeah, but
we'll put on a show. My dad's got a barn.
I mean, yeah, that's nice. But as bad as all this was, let's just take like a few minutes just to comment on the Biden thing. Did anybody see the Stephanopoulos interview? It was bad.
Oh God, yes, I saw it. It was awful.
I mean, it should have just been a layup.
Softball after softball, and Biden couldn't do anything to screw it up.
He was barely hanging on.
He sounded bitter, angry, paranoid, scared, threatened. Yeah, all the not leader things.
Yeah,
that's what he sounded like.
That's why
really sad.
That's why I don't believe the one theory that he's being controlled by whatever. I think that the staffers, the DNC, whatever, they're going to do what they're going to do.
He's influenced. He's not controlled.
Exactly.
That's where I think you're going.
I mean,
and I agree with you.
What I think the big telling moment was, Skep, was him doing this debate in the first place. People seem to forget that the last time there was an election, he didn't do a debate. And that was for very good strategic reason, because what the Dems did was let Trump have all the rope he wants, and we're just going to keep our guy completely silent. We're going to run our narratives. They're going to be completely just all over the place. People watch the news. They don't need to hear from Joe Biden. It's fine. And he won. Air quotes. Won. He won. This time, I think Biden, people around him are telling you, you can't do this, Joe. You can't do this, Joe. You can't do this, Joe. And he said, you know what? I don't care. God damn it. I'm the president. I'm the president. I'm going to do this. Because the Trump camp said anytime, anywhere, anyhow. The ball is completely in the ball. The city, the entire franchise is in your court, Joe. If you were to turn this down, it would be a bigger death knell than this debate was. Just my theory.
Yeah. But as screwed as it is,
The after the debate narrative, even Mika Brzezinski right then and there on fucking CNN says, well, as soon as we and this is just a paraphrase her, she basically said, well, once we figure out how to spin this for you, we're gonna start spinning it. And lo and behold, this week they have started spinning it and saying, yeah, Joe Biden's old and he's sundowning. But you know what? Trump is worse. Trump's mental faculties are even worse. They're trying, like, don't believe your lying eyes, faggot. Believe what we tell you on TV.
yeah, he's great behind closed doors. Just the best.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah, let me tell you.
behind,
And I was thoroughly impressed with the fact that Trump he didn't lose his cool, not even once. He got in his trademark zingers, but other than that, he was completely composed and put together. And even when Joe was going off on the nonsense, and you see, just the difference in facial expressions when the other person is talking, like Trump's like, "Do you believe this asshole? What the fuck is he even saying?" And Biden's just like, "Huh?
Honestly,
I can't hear him."
it wouldn't have mattered what either one of them said. The debate wasn't one of issues, it was one of optics, and all you need is one screenshot from that debate. Donald Trump looks lucid, Joe Biden looks like he's staring off into the distance.
I disagree. I've heard a lot of people say that. Right now we basically know, because they're campaigning, what their stances are. At least Trump, we know basically everything he stands for. All the big issues he's clearly stated as possible, as clearly as possible, what his administration's going to look like. And the Biden camp has done more of the same, and they're basically saying, oh, well, yeah, all the things that we've done terribly for the last 4 years, we're not going to do that anymore, and we're not going to continue to be terrible for the next 4 years. And it's loosely touched on in the debate, but I agree, it's more about the optics and the presentation and how they speak. And
Has anyone brought up Nixon Kennedy yet?
yeah.
Not recently.
No, I've heard people talking about it in the news cycle. Like, I mean,
because this is that all over. Except Joe Biden didn't win on the issues either. He was just terrible all around. But the optics issue, I would say, is relevant.
Yeah.
no, I'm not saying it's not relevant. I just don't think that was the entirety of the debate. I think that there were issues that were talked about, and it was just more of the same, basically. Like, it was nothing new for anybody, so it doesn't really stand out in people's minds. It's just more of the same. Like, we already know what each one is basically standing for. So I like them personally. I like being able to see them not as rigid as this last one. This last one was like, as I see people giving CNN and stuff, and oh, they were fair. They weren't fucking fair. They were not fair. And no, it wasn't evenly handed. It wasn't handled well. I don't know where people are getting this. Like, if they have time to talk, they have time to talk, and you don't get to basically get upset or dictate that, hey, you didn't answer the question. Yeah, well, you know what? That's not part of the rules. The part of the rules is they ask you a question, you have 2 minutes to speak. You can say pink, purple, pineapple, hippopotamus for the full 2 minutes over and over again if you want to. There's nothing saying you are compelled to speak on certain topics. I do like the format. I don't like how they presented it. I wish it would go to a more academic style debate.
Yeah.
And there should be people present, and there should be representation from, like, I don't know how you would do it because they're competitors ultimately. You couldn't have like a Fox anchor and a CNN anchor, although that would be a great show of kinsmanship, as you know, we're all Americans, we're all here together, but they would never do that. Not
An Oxford style debate would be fantastic.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But
a real
even
one.
like the Brits still do.
Well, Terrence Howard actually went to Oxford about 6 years ago and gave a little presentation. It went about as you would imagine.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, like, I'm glad when we get to hear from the idiots as well as from the geniuses.
Yep.
Because then I get to, as an individual, flex my ability of self-determination to be like, you know what? This guy sounds like he's full of shit, but I might still look into it to just confirm what I already am believing. And wow, this guy sounds like he's a genius. Now, it might turn out that somebody who sounds smart really isn't Neil deGrasse Tyson, but that's why I'm glad to be able to hear from anyone and everyone.
Yeah. I got to brush up on my LaTeX format, so that was fun. For me, I found a new way to insert blank lines between things, but that's not important to anybody but me. We do need to talk about the UK election a little bit, though, because it was pretty obvious going into it that Labour was going to sweep. Because the Tories, the Conservatives, have done an absolutely abysmal job for over a decade. It just not, things have just not been done well. They didn't really live up to the promises that they made. Just a whole series of losers as prime minister. I mean, I don't particularly hate Richie Sunak that much, but
He was pretty awful.
he is kind of terribly out of touch and awkward and everything else. But it's academic now because Keir Starmer is in, and he has picked some absolutely outstanding people to be in his new government they're putting together.
Hold on, I think I'm going to throw up a little in my mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was looking at the Labour webpage in terms of their mission-driven government, the things that they actually care about. So they're going to kickstart economic growth, go back to what I said, how is government going to have growth? Literally, the only thing government can do to make things grow 99% of the time is get off the neck of the businesses so that they can just do their job better. They're going to make Britain a clean energy superpower. They're going to crack down on law and order and take back our streets. I don't know if he's talked to Sad Dick Khan about the situation in London. I refuse to call him Sadiq. I always call him Sad Dick.
Sad Dick.
And break down barriers to opportunity. Now, point 4 is the only one that I feel might actually be semi-legitimate, because they really do still have a caste system, and social mobility really is kind of a problem for them, and they probably need to continue to do more to get rid of that.
Hold on. I'm stopping you right fucking there.
You're telling me they don't have a caste system?
You know it. No, I agree with you with the caste system, and it does need to be addressed.
Yeah.
If they want to go that way, I'm not going to determine to the Brits what they do with their own. Whatever.
Yeah, the Britbongs can do what they want to do.
When they say barriers to opportunity, you goddamn well know what the fuck they're talking.
They're talking equity.
Oh, they're definitely talking equity.
I'm talking equality.
Racial equity for...
Oh, but wait till I show you who some of the cabinet members are. You're going to love some of the people that they've got. And then, actually, the other thing is they're going to try to fix the NHS.
Which, again, Assassin, you know they're not talking about nuclear power and mass deportation.
That should be easy.
Yeah, so Sora, the government running healthcare systems, it always goes really well, right? Single payer, just the best. Just so good. So good.
Did for a while. At least in my...
And then it just was good, too.
Initially.
Well,
and then they let a whole bunch of people in.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Millions. Millions.
Well, no, at a time, Harry, like over the course of years.
Yeah.
Like, and just flooded the system. And that didn't just overload the systems. Didn't overload OHIP or BC Health or the NHS. It destroyed them. It completely, through and through, rotted the system, because not only did they add so many people on that end, but on the other end, on the service side end of things, they added thousands and thousands of people. But you know what those people were? They weren't fucking doctors and nurses. They are bureaucrats and equity researchers and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the numbers, look at the breakdowns of the numbers of all of these government-run health insurance plans. It's the same goddamn thing, and you can track it number by number. This is exactly what went wrong, and yet they are doubling and tripling down in the last 5 years, and their plans for going forward. Luckily, it's now. I mean, with the I always forget their fucking the Tories.
Mhm.
The names always throw me for a loop. The Tories let that stagnate. They didn't keep adding on to it, but they didn't do anything to combat the already leaky boat. At least here in Canada, we're seeing large, like traditionally red, which is our liberal strongholds, being flipped blue, like overwhelmingly so, because of one of the biggest issues is the degradation of these institutions that were once really, really good and really, really profitable. I talked to you guys at length about the nuclear power generation.
Mhm.
But to go back to the NHS, the same thing, and I'm not as informed on the NHS, but when I looked at the numbers, it was almost point for point exactly the same peaks and valleys that were happening here, and it's hard to refute that. This is their pendulum swinging, obviously in the whole other direction, whereas here on this continent we seem to be swinging in a corrective measure. And I say that with complete bias, the corrective measure of the other way to fix some of these problems. Hopefully, you know, like I see Trump, he's going to be, he might well do good on his promises to deport more people. Pierre Poilievre, I don't know yet. Obviously, Keir Starmer is not. He's probably going to lift some of the people. I know the immigration minister is a jihadi.
Well, we'll get to that.
Well, question.
Yeah.
I was kind of leading to that.
Oh, yeah.
Is the Canadian healthcare system nationalized healthcare system?
No, it's
The
provincial.
same, whatever. Per the large group, do you all also allow private hospitals, or do you not also allow private hospitals?
No, but you're
No.
it's not like you're not allowed to like go to a private hospital. Just
Well, okay, so England's issue is that they allow private hospitals, and private hospitals are getting more and more in number, while NHS hospitals are getting smaller in number, which is part of England's problem. The issue is that the people, because the delusion, I'm not talking about Canada in this case. You all have a completely different system I know nothing about. I had family in England for years. It's the only reason why I know some of this stuff. The issue with the English system is the fact that there's a lot of also delusional people here in America who think that in England you don't pay for health insurance, and that is not the case. Because on top of also your taxes going to healthcare, you also, if you really want to make sure you're taken care of, you also have health insurance. Many people who can't afford it choose to go to the private hospitals, which is what kept a lot of the strain off of the British hospitals in the NHS system. The problem is that, as with everything, anyone who tells you how money works, the private systems can pay the nurses and the doctors and the administrators and the janitors better and can change their pay in a much more timely manner than the NHS system can. That's the reason why you keep seeing people, the demonstrations that were taking place.
Incentivized behavior.
Yeah. And that's part of the issue, is that because there are private hospitals as well as private healthcare providers there, that's part of what's causing the issue with the NHS. I do not think, considering the wage that many of the Tories have, will ever have the balls to make the private system go away. And truthfully, it's not the way to fix it, but it would be the stupid way to fix it, would be to wipe out the private healthcare system. But England's was on the course to fail because of the fact they allow private hospitals.
I'm not sure about that last part.
You want a short answer? It's because of what Harry said before of the caste system.
I know that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a House of Lords.
Oh yeah. They have a House of Lords and House of Commons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they still have an aristocracy. Like.
Yeah.
But okay. Let me straight. It did not help to have the privatized along with the national healthcare system. Now,
but I'm saying that aristocracy keeps that private industry running at full steam. And, and that basically kind of makes it too well protected to touch.
Well, that's what I mean, is that the only way they could do to kind of fix the system is kind of, one, cut down on new people coming to the country
Yeah.
and straightening the system,
I think-
but also removing a large portion of the private hospitals and taking the competition away. They're not going to do that because they want the best and brightest because they can pay for the best and brightest, which is the way any human being is.
Yeah,
So
well, as we're gonna
it's-
get into these people, all these people have gone to high private schools
Oh yeah.
in England. So yeah,
Well-
schooling's not everything.
Well-
Well, they're labor. They're
I think
performative poor people. That's the way they've all been. They try to act like they've grown up in the housing developments or in council housing, and they never have.
yeah.
Well, I want to put
So-
you on the spot a little bit, okay?
Go for it.
Because you're talking about how the NHS would be more successful if it didn't have to compete with private healthcare providers.
No, I'm saying that they wouldn't have as many problems. That doesn't mean I think it'd be doing better.
Yeah, because I mean, I
I
wouldn't. I mean, public schools suck, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even though they're free, they suck. People choose to go to private schools. I wouldn't get rid of private healthcare providers any more so than I would get rid of, private schools in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And I know
No,
the whole public-private thing is different. I'm just talking about in the U.S.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't create a monopoly for them. People get really worked up about stuff like National Rail, because
Yeah.
that's the one where it really ought to be a public utility, because there's no private company that can really own the rails part of it because of all that has to go through.
Well, for them anyway.
For
us,
them, I mean, I'm talking about like their thing, and there's similar problems in Germany.
Oh yeah.
Skep probably knows Sabine Hassenfelder was talking about how she was almost ashamed to be German, and she was going off on the rail system in Germany, how it's all broken and screwed up. I just wanted to point out before we get into the cabinet here that not only did a bunch of idiots get brought in, but actually my one favorite politician outside of Millet, probably in the world, my second favorite politician got voted out. And I know this just says a lot about me. Jacob Rees-Mogg, my favorite Brexiteer, got voted out. So in addition to idiots coming in, we've got some of the
Very
good people.
smart people leaving.
Yeah, it's pretty dreadful.
Yeah, but aren't
You
those,
and I have talked about that. We both like him.
Yeah, he's one of the best. Even though he's so posh, it's almost painful.
but aren't
Yeah, it is.
isn't he one of the Tories who was also a Brexiteer?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
Brexit.
yeah, but that was the big movement in Britain. Is, you know what? Fuck it, we're not going to win anyway. 0 seats. 0 seats. Like we're going to show. We're not going to vote against you. We're just not going to vote because you have failed us. And like I said, it's the pendulum swinging the other direction, but it's going to force the Tories to completely restructure. And I think that's a good thing. Like I hope that happens in the States so badly, and up here with the Liberals so badly, and down there with the Democrats so badly, that they have to completely scrap their entire cabinet and rebuild and start anew and start fresh and be different and be better. Like that's my hope.
Yeah. Well,
Refinish that cabinet.
let's make a just have a little snicker, a bit of a Twitter at some of the names involved in Jacob Rees-Mogg's personal
Boris
life.
Johnson.
No. His family is what I'm looking at here.
Oh God, with the name Rees-Moggs.
Okay.
Yeah, Lord Rees-Moggs. That's who his father is.
So
He's on the
his sister is Anzunatia, Annunziata, Rees-Mogg. What the hell kind of name is Anzunatia? In
The
his
enunciation. It's enunciation.
his
house. He went to
Yeah,
Trinity
yeah.
College. Nice.
his spouse is Helena de Chair. It's like, okay, that's a name apparently.
6 children. Goddamn, way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, she's been busy. I mean, he's
Yeah, it is Italian.
Back to the
It's
woman.
literally the Italian word for enunciation.
he's extremely posh.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, he's extremely posh, which is
It's generally
fine.
understood to refer to the young Mary, mother of Jesus,
Wikipedia-
receiving the word of the angel Gabriel says
Yep.
that she
Yep.
is to bear the
Oh.
Christ child. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That makes
Westminster under school, Eton College, Trinity College. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does his? I wonder if his dad can sit on the House of Lords if he's in the house if he's a member of Parliament.
Well, I think his
Interesting
father.
that Wikipedia refers to him as having anachronistic attitude.
But I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, chairman of the Arts Council of Britain. Ooh.
But anyway, here's the new group of idiots that they brought in. Okay, so Keir Starmer, socialist nutbag. Okay, Angela Rayner, she's the deputy prime minister. She's crafty-ish. She's okay-ish. It's not terrible.
political.
The chancellor, okay, she's a labor nitwit. But then you get down to some of the
God.
really great choices.
Is that-
David Lammy is the
Lammy.
foreign secretary. I cannot believe it. David Lammy is the second dumbest person in politics in the UK, in my opinion.
Diane
Only
Abbott.
to be eclipsed by Diane Abbott. Now, Diane Abbott
no.
and Terrence Howard might have a lovely conversation about maths.
Maths.
Maths. I said it. Maths.
No, you said maths.
I said
It's
maths.
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 You said
Maths.
SS, not THS.
I'm
Is
trying.
what he's saying. I know, but that's
It's
what
like
Function
Will
was trying
Wheaton,
to say.
you know.
He's
Sorry.
saying the
Sorry.
SS.
I could speak the language.
Yeah, David Lammy is he's pretty amazing. So here's Rita what's her name from Australia.
Intentional hilarity to
Rita Perry.
unintentional
Yeah.
hilarity, courtesy of Labor MP and Shadow Foreign Secretary
I mean, she's in
David
Australia, she's
Lammy,
got room to talk.
who thinks men can grow a cervix or perhaps have one implanted.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix, David?
I don't know if it's transphobic, but it's not accurate, Nick. I mean, obviously, it's probably the case that only that trans women don't have ovaries, but a cervix, I understand, is something that you can have following various procedures and hormone treatment and all the rest of it.
You dipshit.
Yeah, he's a
If
genius.
we're gonna actually, cervix
not.
isn't it like the neck or something? You have your cervical spine.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could have stopped there
you know-
and been accurate.
Tell me, if you have all of the military on one edge of Guam, will it tip over?
Yeah.
I think though the number 3 spot has to go to Yvette Cooper.
Yeah, I don't know much about
She's
Yvette
the
Cooper.
Home and Immigration Secretary.
Yeah, what's bad
And-
about Yvette Cooper? Because the name's familiar, but I can't remember
she's an
why
open
she's
borders
terrible.
Communist.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
She's an open borders communist who's now the Immigration Secretary.
She's also the product of centuries of inbreeding. Look at that chin.
Yeah, there's a lot
There's
going
no
on
chin
there.
there.
I was looking at the smug. That's what I was looking at. Just the
God, she's
Just
very
the
punchable.
smug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
smug.
She's done something with the talking stick that she shouldn't have done.
Yeah, she's got a punch geflighten face like
Yeah.
Prospero talks about.
So, Lammy apparently went to University of London, but specifically a very specific school of the University of London, which I'm amazed no one in the press has brought up and gone after him for. School of Oriental and African Studies.
Nice.
And he also went to Harvard, to be fair.
Yeah.
He also went to Harvard,
He has a degree in everything is racist.
basically.
Yeah.
They
He
also
went to
got
Harvard Law School, though, and has a master's of law in law, for a master's of law.
four like very aggressive Muslim candidates were also won seats. One happened to be a very let's say openly verbose about his religion of peace. Well, the most peaceful religion, mind you, and is an imam, and that kind of scares me more. But labor.
Well, here's your Shabana Mahmood, the new
Mahmood.
yeah. She's going to be the foreign secretary. This is going to be very exciting. A pro-Gaza, anti-Israel, this is not the person that we would like to see there. But Labor, it's fantastic. As far as David Lammy goes, some people thought, yeah, as a shadow secretary, he's absolutely fine, but they wouldn't actually put him in and as an actual cabinet minister. That's just not a thing that's going to happen. And I was watching one video from a UK commentator, and he's like, "Yeah, no, they actually did it. I was wrong." They can't believe that they actually put David Lammy in. But yeah, and of course, somebody who just hates Israel. Let's just bring her in as the foreign secretary.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah, a newly installed top British government official has a long history of anti-Israel, pro-Gaza sentiments that could impact how the UK's new ruling Labour Party will approach Israel's war with Hamas. It ain't going to be good. I know that.
No, it's not. It's going to be, basically support for terrorism and support for taking down Israel, for toppling the Israeli state as being a Jewish homeland, and reimagining it as another failed Arab states, with the Arabs devouring the wealth that the Israelis have put together, while the Israelis are euthanized or deported to Europe.
Well, they're letting it happen to their own country, so.
So I have a
What do they give a shit about Israel's?
I have a super serious question, but after Serenity.
Okay, so the one part I don't know about is I'm kind of shocked that they aren't talking about, because as Labour was against Brexit, most of Labour was against Brexit.
Yeah.
I'm amazed they haven't tried to put forward a plan to go back to the EU and put their tail between their legs and.
Okay, here I can answer
I don't
this.
think EU will let them.
No, I can answer this. Okay, because I did
wants their money.
I did read up on this when I was preparing for the show, but I don't have a link for it, so I'm sorry about that. The spreadsheet is not all inclusive. So according Keir Starmer, because he's a giant leftist and these are a bunch of lunatics that they're letting loose, their big thing that they're trying to portray is that they're going to bring stability and predictability. And so they've said a number of things, and Keir Starmer explicitly said he's not going to seek to take the UK back into the European Union. That's one thing he said, and the other thing he said is that they're not going to raise taxes. Now, whether either of those campaign promises actually holds up, we'll see. But it doesn't look good.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, because who were the big three money bags for the EU? It was Germany, France, and England.
It was Germany, France, and England, or the UK.
Yeah, and with them losing one of the money bags, which is the UK, I honestly think I don't put it past the EU to try to get them to come back. I really don't. Whether he'll hold to his stance, which he's a filthy, dirty commie, they never hold to their stance. I don't know. It was just one of those things. I was amazed that wasn't one of the things they announced to try to do. Because Labour was... Now, I could be remembering this wrong, so someone correct me. But Labour was massively against Brexit. Like, they had all the actors coming out and going, we shouldn't leave. Why are we doing Brexit? We'll need passports.
They
like
wanted
20 years ago.
They wanted to win the election, so that's why they said, no, this isn't the old Labour where we just do crazy, stupid communist shit all the time. This is the new thing where we're going to fix all the problems in the country and not do any crazy shit. Now, keep in mind, during the Tories' reign, for lack of a better word, how many prime ministers did we have? A lot.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing to say that Keir Starmer won't be out in a year and some new person comes in who's just an absolute nut job.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be David Lammy. No.
I want the nut job we know, not the nut job we don't know.
Yeah. So, sorry, UK, but you guys, even if Biden wins again in the US, that's still way better than what you guys have got coming in.
I wonder if
this
they'll
is
let
really
Scotland
bad.
leave now. I wonder if they'll let Scotland leave now.
Well, considering how much oil money they bring in from Scotland, there's a strong disincentive because right now they're basically paying Scotland not to leave, and they're paying them a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They're giving them every single thing. I mean, they're essentially simps at this point. They're they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay for your rent and your gas money. Here's a car you can borrow. It's all and you can still have other boyfriends. It'll be fine. They're basically simps.
Well, that's the other thing that, like, because Scotland was against Brexit. Like, most of the Scottish population was against Brexit, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason why I'm surprised they're not trying to go back.
Well, Scotland hates England. They love Europe because they're just a bunch of sticks.
Well, it's because they think they'll be accepted as being part of the EU, not realizing they're just going to see you as a bunch of inbred hillbillies, you idiots. Like, it's the way they've always seen you.
Scotland has been brain drained so badly that trying to find like smart people in Scotland, not that they don't exist, because they certainly do, but it's not the Scotland that used to be there with all of the amazing things that it used to have. All of the really smart people, well, most of the really smart people just got the hell out of Scotland in the 70s, wasn't it, Skep?
Yep.
Yeah.
The ones who weren't lost in New Caledonia.
Yeah. Yeah. Good times.
Good time.
Oh, let's see. So I guess we should do some palate cleansers, right?
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Where can we do? Because we've got all this show that we could talk about here. Let's see. What have I got under fluff? Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. So this is a channel that I just found today, and I actually thought some of the stuff is funny as hell, and he has very few viewers, so totally worth a sub.
You cannot. I'm having a conversation.
I love
Walter, I'm right here.
Okay, so this is musical memes. He's only got 24,000 subscribers. That's 1,500 views. So I mean, this is not like one of those big channels. But there's another one that he did. Wait till the end. It starts out simple enough, but just wait till the end of this one.
That was fantastic.
Bonk. That is fun. That is fun.
Lord.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So, too bad Kefki is not in the audience right now because at the Nashville Zoo they just got a new bunch of piglets in.
Oh boy.
Now, the thing that confuses me is why do they have piglets at the zoo? I mean, this is
warthog.
it says Red River hog piglets.
Oh, Red River hogs. Okay.
And to me, it's like it seems like
that's nothing special.
So close to Interstate Barbecue that they have all these baby little piglets and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like the zoo has forgotten what it's supposed to be doing.
Well, they're a type of they're a type of hog from Africa.
I bet
They're
they'd be
a wild
delicious.
hog.
I miss the hogs down in Africa.
Yeah. Nice.
Look at little baby though. They're so sweet.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that.
Are we sure this isn't the food of one of the other animals?
I think they're just yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a pig. Probably
Okay.
someone gets used after they die.
So speaking of Scotland, here's a piece of engineering which I found to be pretty amazing because I wouldn't have imagined that something like this actually exists, but it does.
Welcome to the Falkirk Wheel.
Oh yeah, I love this
Scotland's
thing.
modern
It's so
engineering
cool.
marvel. In the early 2000s,
Yeah. Look at this damn thing. You go
I
into
actually
the.
actually watched a video of a guy who was on a narrowboat as it did it.
Can you imagine being on a boat when this happens, Skep?
What?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Wow.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I've known about this.
We have lift
bridge
locks
for a
here,
while.
but that's
I've never
Yeah.
seen
nothing
something like
compared
that.
to this.
It's really.
That's
I think
pretty, yeah.
it was in 2002, I think.
Imagine it like malfunctions halfway.
So at least somebody in Scotland who's got a clue stuck around.
That's right.
That's
They
pretty
imported them.
sweet. Yeah.
It's a lot. I think it's even. It's a lot slower even than that. Like it's very.
It would have
slow.
to be, but it's still cool.
Oh yeah, no, it's awesome.
Gotta say, really like that. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
damn
So
sweet.
cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the bridge too. It's really cool
Mhm.
because it's also a walking bridge. So you have the narrowboat like water, and then you have the ability to walk on the other side.
Huh.
And like you're literally like there's certain parts of it you're up really high, like terrifyingly so.
So I found another channel which, you know, I've talked about. God, I can't remember his name now because I'm tired. But we talk about. There's been with the whole thing that's been going on in Ukraine, a number of people that make content about military stuff. There always are, and there's more of them now. Like Ryan McBeath, I think, is one of the guys who does that stuff. And
electrician.
I kind of my endorsement of him is conditional. I think he's good much of the time, but I definitely don't expect that everything he says is going to be something I'm going to agree with.
He's friends
okay?
with Destiny. That's the reason why I kind of side-eye him just a little bit.
Yeah. But I found a channel which I like because it's like an old guy, used to be a military pilot. It seems totally legit, and he's got really great content. So,
story from the Coast Guard. This rescue swimmer isn't going into the water, he's going on land. And he's picking up a very special passenger. You see, this is Leo, the golden retriever, who fell off of a cliff near Santa Cruz, California.
Yay.
And was severely injured.
but this guy covers all kinds of stuff, and he's got great videos. And he's as a former military pilot, he knows what he's talking about. He produces really fantastic content, and if you're interested in this kind of stuff at all, I recommend it's. I'm going to do a full Joe Biden here because it says share link. Can I select this without? Let's see, stupid Harry.
You should be able to click the 3 dots next to if you just want to do the individual.
I'm trying to do it in the spreadsheet. Okay, let's see. Here we are. So this is actually a pretty cool channel for like military stuff, and a lot of it's aviation related. Totally recommend this stuff.
Recently, a Russian surface action group of 4 ships went down our eastern seaboard on their way to Havana, Cuba. This is one of those ships. This is the frigate Admiral Gorshkov, a very capable surface vessel.
1970s
you can see it launching
ASRock
caliber
technology.
cruise missiles, but it also has a 130 millimeter deck gun that you see there in front of you.
See, just facts. No spin, just facts. Just an old military guy talking about military hardware. I love this channel. It's outstanding. But there was one other thing. Let's see. We need to cover this. Why is this not here? So I think, Jack, you wanted to see the satisfying trade videos, right?
Yes.
Okay. So watching guys do stuff competently in a world full of incompetent people, I saw this one, which I thought was fantastic.
Why is there a hole in this tree? Well, you're about to find out.
Have you seen this?
No, but I know what he's doing.
Yeah. Cut a notch into the tree, making
Anybody who's worked out in the woods.
I've never seen this particular approach. Look at that! I didn't even know you could do that. That's awesome.
It's a guided cut. It's a guided cut. It's the best way to do it. The other way to do it is do a V on the side of the tree, but that's dangerous because it can start to go when you're not ready for it.
Okay.
This way you can completely control where it's falling.
Yep.
Okay. Well, here's
you don't want it to crush the fence. You don't want it to hit the house. You don't want it to hit you.
That's beautiful. I've seen people make wedges and put stuff in and try to direct it, but it's like that is like there's no room for error.
You have to either been taught by someone who knows their shit or you've been doing it for several years to get that right. Because I've seen it go wrong. Or they put it too high or they put it too low.
Too low. It doesn't do anything and it still cracks over.
Yeah. Big stuff or small stuff. I love watching people work that know what they're doing. And it almost doesn't matter what it is they're doing. So here's another channel that's got great stuff. And I can just like scroll through this channel. Because that's what I always do. That stupid thing. And I'm looking at this going, wait a second. God damn it. I've been using Teflon tape the wrong way for decades. This is what I do. Is that what you do, Skep?
Yeah,
but this is way better.
Well, no,
because it's going to anchor it and it's not going to slip.
Yeah, that works very well right there. I'm not sure on a conventionally threaded pipe that it works any better than the other way, but it is very elegant the way that it gets in there, and it looks like it. You know, I think it's overkill, but it does the job beautifully and elegantly. And now that I know about it, I'm sure they're going to try it the next time I do it.
Yeah,
of course I am.
Well, word to the wise though, there are scam channels that do basically this exact thing.
Yeah, 50 like 5-minute crafts and all those.
This is not 5-minute crafts.
Well,
though.
I know, but there are ones who do it very similar to this. You never see the person's face, that kind of stuff. So
I love the things that say, hey, this black forest cave with 6 different kinds of fruit topping only has 2 ingredients in it, and you can make it in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What? That's how I know it's not a scam.
But I like watch these kind of videos all the damn time. I don't know. I just get sucked in while everybody else is watching people dance on TikTok.
Is that one with
There's
the
nothing
rebar on the far
abnormal.
left?
That's not abnormal at all. This stuff is excellent. I love this stuff.
Weld it?
Oh, I guess he's doing that before
It's
you.
the template.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to get it ready for a mouse crucifixion.
But there's
Or
like
if
a
you're
bunch
only
of
doing it for like.
there are a ton of different channels like this. I love these things.
I wish a lot of handymen nowadays. I understand why would use pocket hole like the pocket holes for furniture and stuff. They don't use them like.
Oh yeah, I mean I can't remember the brand, like Craig.
Craig, yeah.
Yeah,
Craig,
they
pocket
sell
hole
those
jigs.
things.
Yeah, we have an old. I don't know who made it because it's wore off. My grandfather has an old pocket, the double pocket hole maker thing, and it's all metal. That's how old it is. But the names like, was painted on was wore off. But I'm just like, do the pockets.
Yeah.
I
Good
like
times.
I like seeing the pockets.
I'm sorry, I forgot I was running a show and just started watching these videos. And I find it to be extremely addictive.
I'm sitting here watching this. I'm not even.
I mean, yeah, I knew Serenity was talking, but it's
Yeah,
just,
I heard her voice.
Yeah.
Well, fine. Fuck you all then. God.
Wow.
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
I'm sorry, Serenity.
I know you're
Stuff
fine.
Just gets me.
We've got music stuff. We've got tons of stuff, but it's just going to have to wait till next week because we need to let Jack get his beauty sleep. Thank you for joining us tonight and talking about boring ass housing stuff, because I know that you don't like to maybe talk about that on your off time.
No, it's fine. I love to explain how the government is wrong about literally everything.
Yeah, we're with the government. We're here to help. Yeah, right. Yeah, the less the power the government has, the better off everybody's going to be.
Yes. Amen, brother.
Yeah. Getting more libertarian every day.
You come join the revolution. That's where it's at.
Any final thoughts? Anybody have anything else before we go? Want to complain about the
Houses of Parliament?
Yeah, anybody want to talk about the
Great example
acolyte?
of that notion of less is more. No, I don't want to fucking talk about the acolyte.
I think we're going to end up with President Kamala Harris.
Happy 4th, Yank.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Thank you.
The cackler in
He
chief.
just started streaming 10 minutes ago.
All right. Well, thank
Doing
you.
these weird late night streams.
Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. Zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.